So why are we introducing an instructional coaching offer? Like you, we recognise the importance of investing in the teachers who support and nurture children and young people on a daily basis. They are the people who have the greatest impact on student achievement. We are all seeking to address gaps, whether those created as a result of disadvantage or as a consequence of the pandemic. We also want this investment to be sustainable. By investing in teachers and helping to establish effective teacher development practice, we want to help you to develop your current and future workforce. Bradford is a great city with great teachers and great schools. We want to invest in these teachers and schools by recognising, developing and celebrating the very best teachers and enabling them to share their expertise with peers. Although we've referred to this as an instructional coaching offer, the focus is actually on helping teachers to change habits and behaviours in order to enhance teaching and student achievement. We'll use instructional coaching as a vehicle for this, but, as we'll explore, it's more about helping expert teachers to implement a coherent and complementary range of change mechanisms to deliver effective teacher development. Here's a quote that introduces instructional coaching if you're not familiar with it. It is not coaching in the traditional sense of the phrase. It focuses on helping a teacher to improve a specific aspect of their classroom practice, such as checking for understanding or guided practice. Via instructional coaching, the coach or expert teacher supports the teacher to identify and clearly define the target performance, identify the biggest gap between target and current performance, break this down into components which can be practiced, design the practice, facilitate practice in controlled conditions, give feedback, and in turn increase the complexity of classroom practice. In all, this process takes about 30 to 45 minutes. It can change teachers' habits to improve teaching and learning. So why are we using instructional coaching as the vehicle for change? In terms of impact on student outcomes, instructional coaching has a better evidence base than any other form of CPD. Dr. Sam Sims provides a useful overview of this research via the blog I've referenced and quoted. This is what instructional coaching might look like in practice. You can see it consists of a series of planned sequential actions undertaken by the coach or expert teacher and the coachee. Some schools will already be familiar with a similar model via the Early Career Framework-based training for early career teachers and their mentors. Our Early Career Teachers programme that we deliver in partnership with Ambition Institute uses instructional coaching each week. But its application extends beyond ECTs. The model works for experienced teachers too, if schools or partnerships have expert teachers confident in using instructional coaching. The coach or expert teacher works with a teacher to define an aspect of their practice that needs to be developed. The expert teacher visits the teacher in their classroom, including observing the teacher teach to establish an understanding of current practice. Together, they identify the target performance. The expert teacher models a suggested strategy. The teacher practices this strategy away from their students. The teacher gets feedback from the expert teacher and a professional dialogue ensues. Then, the teacher applies a strategy in lessons before the expert teacher revisits them in their classroom. They may continue to work on this strategy or a new focus may be identified. It is the planned sequential actions or elements referenced in the previous diagram that together make the CPD effective. The Education Endowment Foundation, in their Effective Professional Development Guidance Report, defined these as mechanisms. Let's take a look at the 4 groups of mechanisms in turn. Just from the labels alone, you'll already recognise many of the mechanisms from our previous diagram that showed what instructional coaching might look like in practice. For example, managing a teacher's cognitive load by focusing on one aspect of their teaching practice to develop at any one time. These three mechanisms are easy to spot in the instructional coaching model. As are these 5 mechanisms. Our proposal to disseminate expertise via professional learning community or network, as we'll discuss later, adds an additional strand to the social support mechanism. And finally, we recognise these mechanisms from the instructional coaching model too. I'd encourage you to become familiar with the EEF guidance report. Here's a screenshot from a blog by Harry Fletcher Wood. It shows, from the analysis of 16 research studies, that the more mechanisms included in the delivery of instructional coaching, the greater its impact. And to conclude, here's a summative quote from Harry's blog, again emphasising the importance of the mechanisms.